Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. A huge Tuesday, Michigan week. The biggest practice of the week is Tuesday, Bloody Tuesday. Guys get after it good and hard today. Getting ready for Wink Martindale's defense is going to be very interesting. A lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, a lot of anxiety. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but I'm excited about this game. This is one where I think we're going to smash these guys pretty good, and Ryan is going to make a statement. We're talking a little bit about what he said to the media today. Again, a lot of nothing burgers, a lot of just pablum, just because he's not going to give out any bulletin board material. But we will reveal if anything was decent, and also the players spoke for a little bit. So we're going to go through all that. Take your questions as always. Break some film down. Talk a little bit about this. Is going to be a huge recruiting weekend, biggest one of the year. Every time or every other year when Michigan's in town, this is always a monster weekend. So talk about some of the potential guys that could be coming. Could we get a Jakeem Stewart visit? We're going to see. Talk about that. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every night. This is a huge show because you guys make it one. Breaking records night over night. Again, last night was a monster. Tonight will be another monster. We just appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every night. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys being on here with us each and every night. This has been an incredible run for us. Buckeye Scoop over the last year has become the dominant force in Ohio State coverage. Again, we're fair, we're balanced. We're the most pro Ohio State site, but we're also very, very fair. Again, we like to give you guys the best analysis, break down film, inside recruiting info. Like we like to give you guys all the best. So we appreciate you guys being on here. You guys are gonna do something huge for us. Consider following us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Really quick to do, super easy. The best Christmas gift you could give Nevada and I, because it really helps us out. So we're really trying to grow those. They are not huge, and we're trying to get them to be something like our YouTube, which is a Goliath at this point. And we just appreciate you guys helping us out there. So that being said, going to bring in my good friend Nevada. Nevada, we are through the first day of prep for the Michigan game. The Tuesday practice is the hardest practice. Tomorrow will be lighter. Thursday is basically like a glorified walkthrough, and it's here. But your thoughts thus far through a couple of days of Michigan prep, and how are you feeling as of Tuesday of the game week?
Well, I feel good. We are exclusive to YouTube now, so no more of the other stuff. So that
So,
feels kind of interesting, kind of
yeah,
good. So
you have a
we
YouTube partnership now, which is really cool. So we're growing that thing like crazy, and appreciate you guys. Good.
yeah. So if you want to see us, you're going to see us here on YouTube, which is again exciting development for the podcast. How am I feeling? I always have trepidation and nervousness and concern before the Michigan game. It's been part of my DNA since I was a wee little Nevadabuck. Um, but I don't have any concerns this week. I don't. I just don't. And I do not see any path for Michigan to come win this game. I mean, we talk about like a series of unfortunate events, or I mean, Michigan's just not going to score. If you look at Michigan's performances on the road, I think they averaged like 11 points a game on the road. They've really struggled on the road, and they have no idea what's in store for them coming in here on Saturday against an Ohio State defense that's really rounded into form. So I just think they're going to absolutely struggle to move the ball. Ohio State's can hurt you so many different ways. Clearly you don't need any more motivation, but the motivation is off the chart. But the most important thing is just schematically, Michigan's in trouble because Michigan can't stop the pass. They can't generate enough of a pass rush to really hurt against Ohio State. They can't man up on the guys on the outside, and I think for them it's really going to be one of those games that's lopsided. I won't even say it's going to stay close early because I just don't think Michigan can score. So it's not like they can get out 7-0, 10-0, 14-0, anything like that. So how am I feeling? I'm feeling really good. I think the game plan is kind of it seems to be taking shape. As you said, practice, spirited practice. Ohio State's in good health. As healthy as you could be considering where we were with the stuff that's happened on the offensive line. And I think that they're going to lay it on Michigan on Saturday. And to me, it feels undery because to normally go over, you need both teams participating in the scoring, and I just don't think Michigan's going to score much on Saturday, and I think Ohio State wins handily.
Yeah, and the weather, with the polar vortex is it's gonna be interesting because the weather with the wind and the cold can be very can alter the game plan if it's windy. If it's crazy windy, it's tougher to throw. You're gonna run the ball more, you're gonna run the clock more. So yeah, the under thing, it sounds legit unless Ryan just goes ham and decides to go crazy and try to put as many points on the board, which I think he's going to. I think he's gonna really make a statement because again, you have to look at the game planning holistically. And I've learned a lot in the last, I don't know, since Saturday, last 4 days or whatever, about how much people that are important love when we put the dagger into people. Because you got to understand, a lot of the major business people that sponsor Ohio State and they're big in NIL and whatever, they're ruthless, cutthroat killers when it comes to business. So they want their football team and their football coach to act in a similar manner. So that's why, like Jim Tressel's offense, we used to take the foot off the gas and pull the starters early. Like that would drive them crazy. Urban, which is the opposite, would go nuts and try to put as many points on the board as possible. Oregon, again, I've heard so many times about that Oregon game when we're beating them to death, and then we hand the ball to Ezekiel with 10 15 seconds to go, and he dives in the end zone for another touchdown to make it whatever it was, 45-20, or it was some ridiculous score. I don't remember off the top of my head, but people love that. And so if he can hang one on Michigan and embarrass them, I feel like that is a great way for Ryan to offer up. I don't know if an apology is the right word, but like the embarrassment from the last series, even with him cheating. Like, and again, like obviously Ryan doesn't want to lose. He doesn't plan to lose. He doesn't ever want to lose. But there are people that have been angry the last couple of years that we've lost. So if Ryan can run the thing up and just be a maniac, it's going to do a lot of goodwill. And again, I look at everything through how does it raise the most money for the program and for NIL. So if he runs it up on Sharon Moore and makes him look like a helpless dead animal, it's like a T-Rex versus like a goat, and like if the T-Rex just tears the goat apart, like our fan base and our donors will be very excited about that. So I think it's going to be nasty. It's going to be ugly. You get a couple D tackles, you get a stop, but with our speed and our edge, I think we're going to be in good shape. And again, Will Howard, who leads the nation in pass in his accuracy. It's crazy how good this guy is and how nobody seems to realize how good he is. And the thing is, no one will realize how good he is until he's gone. It's a lot like, and I'm not directly comparing him to Tom Brady, but Michigan had no idea how good Tom Brady was until he left. There was nobody at Michigan that was happy or that was sad to see Tom go when Drew Henson was sitting behind him. Drew Henson was the phenom, 5-star, number one quarterback in the country, number one player in the country, one of the best athletes, signed with the Yankees, and he was the freshman behind senior Tom Brady, and they platooned, they split time, which I think some people don't remember. But when Brady left, everyone's like, thank God he's gone. So now we can get that Drew Henson guy, and I think that there's some of that with Will Howard, because we've got, obviously Julian Sand and Tavian St. Clair. We have 2 5-star top rated quarterbacks behind them. And, I don't think people realize how good Will Howard is. Again, I don't, it confounds me that people don't realize that this guy is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever had. And he's got an incredible opportunity to become the best quarterback in the history of the school. Now, again, this is going to be a long road to hoe, but dude, you're the top team in the nation right now, according to Vegas. Got Michigan, we're going to beat the tar out of. You got a chance to rebound and beat Oregon, and then you've got a 3 or 4 game playoff where you can, your numbers will be as gaudy as you need them to be. And again, we've got the best team. Again, I know that Texas is good and Georgia's good, whatever, but like, dude, we've got the best players, best team, best staff, and a lot of depth, which is important this time of year. So, really excited about the direction of this team. I think that the more I've watched Michigan, the more I think they're in trouble. I think that Chip Kelly probably sees the same deficiencies I do. When you've got your star corner sitting out because he's scared of JJ, it tells me all I need to know. Those guys don't really want to play, and they're not going to fake injuries and whatever. But I just think that there's going to be a feeling when these guys show up that like they're like an undermanned army going to battle. They're going to look across and You're going to see, the Ohio State. Ohio State looks like the U.S. military, and they look like Angola's military or something. So it's not going to end well for these guys. But I think that, hey, that's part of it, and that's why you give a lot of credit to Ryan Day and to the foundation for raising all this money to fortify this roster. And I can't wait for Saturday. I think it's going to be one of the best days in school history because the get back is going to be very, very real. Nevada, any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I look. I think you've got a bunch of guys that came back, solely for this purpose. But you've had the influx of talent of the super portal class. Obviously, J.J. Smith, the fabulous freshman coming in there, and so you've got some guys that are new to the game, but so many of the guys just have never won this game. They've got a lot of frustration built up, and it's time to exercise some of those demons. But the best way to do that is with good execution. And I think for Michigan's problems offensively is that they have nobody that can threaten you on the outside, and so their only path, to even staying in a game is establish the run, and then hit the tight end, on third down, and when Warren rolls out and does his thing. But I think what you'll see for Ohio State, you'll see a bare front. You'll see them, play that 5-man front, take away the run, man up on the outside, and in any type of passing situation, they're going to bring the house and try to force turnovers, bad throws, get sacks, negative plays, etc. And then offensively, you know, I know you want to win the rushing battle. I know that they talk about whoever wins the rushing battle wins the game, and I think that's one of those weird stats. I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling stat because I think when you are ahead, you run the ball, and when you run the ball more, you generally rack up more yards than the other person, and that's how you end up winning the rushing battle. But I think for Ohio State, I think the path is through the air. Even the wind's it's not going to be heavy winds. So I think they're saying 12 mile an hour top for the day, which is really nothing. And but it's going to be cold, 29 degrees, and which is cold, but not it's not below freezing. Or I should say it's not below zero, or it's not like it's the ice bowl. So you're still going to be able to throw the ball pretty well. And we have just got such a big advantage on the outside against the Michigan pass defense. And even with Will Johnson in there, and Will Johnson isn't playing, so I think Ohio State passes to set up the run. Once they hit them a few times with that, they break some of those blitzes. Then you'll see the run game start to crank it up a little bit more. You get that zone read action with Will, and I think both Trey and Quinchon are both going to feast. And I think it's one of those. It feels like 35-3, 38-0 type of thing. It's hard to predict a shutout in this game, but if there ever was a game to predict a shutout, this would be the one.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, with the quarterback play, it just feels like the '08 game. 08 still had Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham tore his tricep last day, but 2 nights ago on Sunday Night Football. He's still playing in the league, but he was the guy that I went against in '07 and first round pick. And they in '08 they had Brandon Graham, but that was it. So I mean, they ended up being terrible, and we named the score on them because they didn't have a quarterback. And I mean, in this rivalry, man, it's hard to win if you don't have somebody. I mean, they've beaten us with obviously JJ McCarthy, who's a first rounder, but this year they've got a bunch of guys that they're not going to play at any level of pro football. They won't even play in Canada. They're so bad. So I think it'll be interesting to see what we do. But God, if I'm Jim Knowles, man, and I see that quarterback sitting back there, I can't wait to scheme some pressure stuff up because God knows what it is. But the other chess match is going to be Chip Kelly versus Wink Martindale. Now, Wink Martindale is a guy who much ballyhooed guy who came in from Baltimore, from the Giants, but he'd been at Baltimore, and he was actually the DC when I was in Denver in 2010. But he's a guy, a lot of bluster. He's like a kind of like a baby Rex Ryan wannabe type dude, and he trained Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald, the last two DCs, like they worked for him in Baltimore, or worked in his system somewhere along the line. So he's like the godfather of that defense that they run, but when you don't have the players, it doesn't matter what you drop on the grease board, and they don't have the players this year. Like they did in the past few years, and they had super seniors and a crazy old team with like 50 seniors on it. Like those, when you do that, you're going to pay, a heavy price when those guys all leave, which they did. Um, but I think Chip's got something for him. And I think that something you can do when there's a lot of potential pressure looks is you can spread them out. That's what we did in '06. I'm actually going to go into the film room real quick and show some of that. Shout out Sean Schrock, my dude. He asked if I'd do some of this. But, in '06, we were a conventional pro style team that ran the ball, tight end, two tight ends. But, when we played Michigan, we knew that they were a big pressure team. They were a team that loved to blitz from all over the place. And so Jim Bowman, who our fans beat to death and everybody hated, and Jim Tressel came up with an idea that we're going to go spread. And this was when spread wasn't really this was not in our repertoire to go 5 wide all the time, but we did it in this game. And the thing is when you spread the field, and again, this is why I like spreading the field in the red zone, you have to show where you're blitzing from. So, you have to man these guys all up. I mean, you can't just, he's going to get out here. He's going to get out here. I mean, they're getting lined up right now. So, I mean, there's not a lot of disguising you can do when you're manned up across the board. He's got him. So, he can come and he can come if they want to bring 6, but here, I think they bring 5, 6, but I mean, these guys they can't blitz. They're all man coverage. So, it's really easy to identify stuff. So here they bring 6, and we missed this in the middle, which is crazy. This is so easy. So Tim Schaefer started for Booney in this game because of an issue. So Schaefer blows this, but I mean, when you have a 6-man pressure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like the 5 of us have to decide who's going to be free. It's either going to be that defensive end or that defensive end. And then Troy's got to beat the other guy with the throw. So Troy, he knows if he has to get rid of this ball because he's going to get smoked. So he gets rid of it quick. Roy Hall wins on his route. We run our little rub route up here where, he interferes, and then Roy busts out to the outside. Super easy concept. But yeah, I mean, these guys got to be good on grass. And again, this field was terrible that day because it was a brand new field. But this was something that we decided to do. And when we did it, it was like people's heads exploded that that's what we were going to do against Michigan, because Michigan was big bad Michigan, and we were old covered wagon offense, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and we decided to go like air raid, and it worked because Michigan didn't know what to do when they couldn't disguise their blitzes, and we tore them apart. Coming into that game, they were the number 1 defense in the country, smashed Notre Dame, smashed everybody, and then we show up and we go spread on them and we rip them apart. So again, it'll be interesting to see if Chip spreads them out a little bit, because Wink Martindale likes to disguise his blitzes. I watched his tape. I know what he's trying to do. And again, that's why nobody in the world hates compact football more than I do, just because it makes it a lot tougher to diagnose where you're going to in either a run or a pass. But especially in pass protection, if you miss on a run play, you might get tackle for a loss, 1 yard gain to your, that won't kill you. If you miss in pass pro and you let a blitzer free and Troy's not expecting it, he can get killed. He can fumble. I mean, there's this, and again, I broke down, you guys watched the show every night. I broke down Indiana. They had a slide side. They should have picked it up. It was a 4-on-6 blitz. They had 4 protectors, and we had 4 rushers, and they had 6 blockers, and they didn't get it. And their quarterback got blindsided, got killed. And again, those are ones that, let alone the pain of getting hit from a blindside tackler, but the mental thought of, is my backside going to get protected this time, is something that doesn't leave that kid. And that kid, after that hit, when he got smoked, he was shook the rest of the game. You could tell. I mean, obviously the noise was a huge factor, but noise is one thing. Getting creamed when you've got 6 blockers, when you've got more than enough guys to pick that up and they just miss it and you get killed, that's a mental thing that's tough to overcome. We'll dig into some super chats. Nevada, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think for Ohio State, because our Ohio State offense is so multiple and so diverse, it'll be interesting to see, how they come out. But I'm interested to see if Michigan has any wrinkles like that. I mean, Michigan's offense has been so straightforward this year, so predictable. they're going to try to pull some stuff out. They're going to try to pull out the quarterback or the halfback option pass, or they'll have Alex Orgy come in and throw a pass for the first time in 10 weeks, or they'll do something like that. But it's going to be a fun game for that standpoint, because I think Michigan's going to be so desperate to score that they're going to have to try something. It's not going to be born out of creativity. It's going to be born out of desperation. And I think that's going to be one of the more interesting parts of the game, is how Michigan tries to move the ball against this Ohio State defense. And an Ohio State defense that's got a really high blitz rate right now. I think after the Michigan game, or excuse me, after the Oregon game, I think Ohio State's been like number one in the country in blitz rate. Um, which is crazy when you consider how little we blitzed before that, and now we're just like blitzing like crazy. But it'll be interesting to see how Michigan, kind of the spy versus spy, and how Michigan responds to that. Will they pull out their screen game? Will they try other stuff to kind of slow down this pass rush, because that pass rush is going to find them, and it's going to be interesting to see how Michigan responds to that.
Yeah, I think it is interesting how the blitzing is turned up. But again, we've unveiled that we've got some of the best blitzers in school history, because Cody Simon, again, blitzing, it's one thing to draw it up on the board. It's another thing when you have guys that really believe in the plan and execute it. And like I showed Kenyatta Jackson. And again, I've been hard on Kenyatta. I'm fair. Kenyatta, we need more juice out of him on the edge, especially when he's got to win his one-on-ones when he's got a pass rush. But the way that he picked the guy and got Lorenzo Sales Jr. free. And again, if Cody didn't beat his guy clean, Lorenzo Sales Jr. would have killed. I mean, Cody got there a split second earlier and got the sack, but Lorenzo Sales Jr. is going to kill him. And Lorenzo Sales Jr. is a guy that's coming on, and he's a fantastic blitzer because he's so fast. I mean, you put him in the nickel, and when I saw him come in and they ran that 3-down look, kind of that dime look, I was like, oh my God, he's going to come for sure. And he hit it. And again, this is the problem with when you're Indiana and you're not used to playing in loud games, is they weren't ready for the noise. And the noise, it doesn't just affect being able to hear the cadence, it affects what cadences you can use, which again, Indiana only had one cadence once they went to the silent count. And our guys figured that out pretty quick. And it was the killing fields. I was like, oh my God, these guys aren't changing the cadence at all. Again, honestly, it was a lot like when we played Missouri, Cotton Bowl. We ran one cadence the entire game, and our guys it was like blitzkrieg. It was unbelievable how bad it was. And again, so when you get a situation where you're not mixing your cadences up, you're not changing stuff, it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to play offensive line, because one of the weapons you have is cadence. And a lot of you guys like to study football, watch football. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest cadence guy of all time for changing cadences, hard counts, making it easier on his offensive tackles, offensive line. And again, there's a standard, and Aaron's hard on his guys, because again, if he knows how good of a weapon that is, and in Green Bay, he'd run hard counts. And I was always shocked that nobody'd ever jump, because those guys were so sharp. With the Jets, it was different. These guys were jumping all over the place, which is bad. But let's get into some super chats. Again, super excited about these guys. Appreciate you guys. Timothy Mullins, thank you for the 5. Well, Chip Kelly, take a page from Stark and call a lot of runs outside to wear down the big tackles. I assume that means Sark, as in Steve Sarkisian. I think you have to. I mean, again, I'm really big on, if a team's loaded everywhere, like Georgia in 2021 was the best defense of all time. They had guys, their one end was the number 1 overall pick. Their 2 inside guys were Jalen Carter and the big fat guy that was a 370-pound guy that won all the Jordan Davis. And that's one thing. These guys are not that. They have one guy that you have to worry about, and it's 55. 55 is the guy you got to worry about. And, he's not like Aaron Donald or anything, but he's good. He'll be a first-round pick. You can't let that guy beat you. So again, I like to get on the edge. I like to get Trey on the edge. I'd run in Mecca. I love the read option stuff where you've got Trey going up in the A gap, and then you can pull it with Will Howard out on the edge. I love that kind of stuff. Get those guys out on the edge, make those guys run a little bit. Make them tired. I'd cut the living crap out of them. If I was the O-line coach, I'd say we're going to run some 3-step, and we're going to put our helmet right into his kneecap and try to ACL him. And that was Urban was great. Urban's term was to try to ACL him if you can. And I was like, I like that. That sounds good, because if you ACL him, then all of a sudden you don't have to play. You don't have to play against him. You play against the backup. So I always like that. But clean. I mean, you're allowed to cut guys. There's nothing illegal. There's nothing legal. There's nothing dirty. Cut blocking. I mean, Oregon was cutting our defensive linemen and I was screaming at the TV. I was like, why don't we cut their guys? Because again, no defensive lineman likes to get cut. So when Oregon was cutting Jack and JT, I was like, we should do that. That'd be really good of us to do because these guys don't wear knee pads anymore, man. I'm like, you put your helmet into his knee, man, you're gonna figure out how much he wants to play football anymore. So, but I think we'll go outside a lot because I think that that's where the meat is, especially when they got a backup corner. You know, with Will Johnson being out again, he's not like I'm scared of running at Will Johnson, but with him being out, you got a backup in there, man. It's like you got to go tax those guys a little bit. About your thoughts again, Timothy Mullins. Thank you. I hope you're having a great night. Appreciate you, my man. Well, Chip, take a page from Stark and call a lot of, Steve Sarkisian, call a lot of runs to the outside to wear down the big tackles. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they're definitely going to make those guys move around. And if there's one guy that I trust to have a game plan that really attacks their weaknesses and really taxes their gas tank, it's going to be Chip Kelly. Chip's been really, really good all year. Not to say that I agree with every play call, because there's certainly some play calls that he makes that I'm not in agreement with, but yeah, he'll definitely be stretching it out, moving those guys laterally, and Ohio State does that really well anyway. And then like you said, you can bring it back with reverses with JJ with Mecca that they've got. I like that little option play that they were running against Penn State with Will Howard and Quinshon on the edge, and you'll see some of that as well. So I'm sure Chip's well aware of what he needs to do, and tire those guys out is certainly on the agenda.
Yeah, I love Chip Kelly's what he does. I hated his goal line plan this past week. And again, this isn't because it didn't work. I didn't like it when they lined up in it. Like I don't like taking JJ and Emeka off the field. Like, and JJ might have been on as a far out split receiver, but I'd split them both out, have one on each side, and make them go cover those guys. I mean, and I put Carnell out there. I mean, those are three of our top 6 guys on offense, and you've got 2 of them standing on the sideline. Like for what? Like I would never take a Mecca off the field in goal line. And again, and then you put on 3 tight ends who can't block, and it just turns into a mash, and it's not good. So again, I make them cover those guys, man, because they are terrifying when they're out there. Excuse me. Roland Coconut. Thanks for the 50,000 OSU over the Chiefs of North, even money. Put up your money, scum fans. Oh my God, no one's gonna take that in even bet. Nevada would be. I mean, Nevada would be every ounce be emptying the clip on that. Even money, Ohio State over Michigan. Yeah, I don't think that anyone's gonna take that. Even Michigan fans, and they're dumb. They're not that dumb. Might as well throw it in the incinerator at that point. Nevada, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, well, they are dumb. I heard that dumb Ballas guy talking about how Michigan is doing it right, how Ohio State did it wrong on NIL, and Michigan is doing it right, and all this stuff. So it's just like, and how they did it right and won the last 3 years, and so yeah, Michigan fans are that dumb. But yeah, I've been trying to get Michigan fans to stand on the other side of a bet all year long, and they all talk really big, and Yoder talks really big, and then when it came time to bet, nobody wants to bet. They all kind of ran off and stuff. So yeah, if you find anybody taking even money action on Michigan, I'm your Huckleberry. I'll take all they want on that. And they know how to get me Buckeye Scoop at gmail.com. Send me an email, and we'll set something up.
Called get it in escrow, baby. Because once the final, as Nevadabuck knows, I don't know if there's many people that have been stiffed on more bets than you, Nevada. Nobody that I know. So that escrow account is warmed up and ready for acceptance because, yeah, no one's gonna give us an even bet. Come on, they're gonna get smashed. W Buckeye, thank you for the 5. How do you think that Will Kazmarek coming back improves OSU's offense going forward? He seemed very much involved against Indiana. I think he's one of our better blockers. I think he's a guy. I don't think he'll get drafted, but I think he's got a chance to at least make a team as an undrafted free agent. I think that he, but the thing that's been good about Will getting hurt is, and it's nothing with Will, but I mean, you've seen Bennett Christian emerge, and Bennett's really taken some nice steps. You've seen Jelani play more. Again, I think that Jelani should probably be our starting tight end. I know that G. Scott is like the old guy, but you got to beat the tar out of Jelani and get him to play up to his potential. Jelani he's $1 million walking around broke right now as an NFL prospect because he should be a 3-and-out tight end. He should be a first-round pick, and he's like aloof and lost sometimes. But when he's engaged, he's really good. I mean, he's physically more gifted than the rest of the tight ends combined. But he drops the ball and he has missed assignments and he doesn't give a lot of effort sometimes. And if you turn him into a monster, they turn him. I mean, I would just make him, live. I mean, JJ's not going to let him live with him, but it's like, JJ, take Jelani everywhere you go. Take him to the Woody Hayes at night to run routes with the Monarch machine. Take him to do everything you can do. And if the kid would own the weight room, I mean, there'd be no limit to that kid's ceiling. But I think Will's going to be involved. He's a senior. He's worked hard to get back. I don't think you can ask a ton of him just because I don't know where his conditioning is because he's been. No, he had an upper body injury with the collarbone, so it wasn't a lower body injury, which is a whole different ball of wax when it comes to dealing with the guy's conditioning. But I think you get 15, 20 plays out of him, and you rotate him in with G and with Bennett Christian and Jelani. So I think like I said, for some reason we love to put 4 tight ends in the game in the goal line. I don't know why. It's our worst position group by far. I try to keep as few of those guys on the field as possible, but Chip likes to do it, and it's literally like holding a hand grenade in your hand and pulling the pin and hoping it doesn't blow up for after you've already had your hand like reattached or you got like a cyborg hand. That's what it's like when we put all those tight ends out there. And every time I watch them, it's like this isn't going to end well, and it goes kaboom. It's like, who knew this guy? But I don't know. I think Will's going to have a nice role, and again, he's been a nice add, and he's not as big of a star as the rest of the guys, but he's been a pleasant surprise, and I think he's played well for us this year. Nevada, your thoughts on Will Kaczmarek and the impact he's going to have on the offense going forward?
Yeah, I think he's been underrated. I think he's kind of like that Mitch Rossi type that when he got hurt, I think our offensive line and our blocking took a little step back, obviously with a lot of other things going on in the line. But him being back is a nice add. I mean, he's a relentless blocker. He does a lot of the little things, a lot of the dirty work that doesn't show up on the score sheet necessarily. But I like Will a lot, and I'm excited that he's back. And I think it's a nice thing to have. Not that I was as concerned about that as when we lost, Josh Simmons or something like that. But I'm very excited he's back, and I actually think he'll play a big role going forward through the Oregon game and into the college football playoff.
Well, yeah, and with the playoff, it's a huge. I mean, the thing it's like I talked to you about this today, Nevada, is like the weird thing is we talked about the biggest games in school history and biggest games in the horseshoe. It's like we're talking about the 06 Michigan game, the 1-2 game. I told you, like, the crazy thing is when we won that game, like in the locker room, because this is something that literally can never and will never happen again. In the locker room, we got the Big Ten trophy. The commissioner of the Big Ten was there, Jim Delaney. Like we had Big Ten championship hats and T-shirts, and that'll literally never happen again because of the Big Ten championship. So, not to mention, we went right to the national championship game, and that was a game where if us or Michigan won that game, the outcome was going to be whoever won got to have the party in the locker room, and the other team got to go to the Rose Bowl, which was like the ultimate terrible consolation prize. But yeah, now when you look down the pike and you see, like, let's just game this out. So if we win or lose to Oregon, it doesn't matter. We're either going to be the 1 or the 5 seed in the playoffs. So you're either going to get the bye or you're going to be the 5 seed, which again, Nevada thinks actually might be more desirable. And then you got to run the table and win 3 or 4 more games. So, I mean, depth is just so insanely critical at this point. And I think the thing that'll be interesting is with the portal, how many kids opt out and get into the portal when you have the chance to win a national championship. That was something I was thinking about today because, Will Howard, I mean, he was in the portal like the day after Michigan or the week after Michigan. I mean, he was gone quick, and it didn't take long and he was gone, and it was on to the next, trying to figure out who's going to play in the Cotton Bowl. But the thing that's interesting now is, like, I mean, when that portal window opens, how many guys are going to jump? I mean, I'm sure some will jump, but if you're an idiot and you leave the team and they win a national title, you don't get, you're not part of that group anymore. You don't get a ring. That'll be very interesting. Because again, I'm sure that we'll always lose guys to the portal just because that's the new nature of the beast. It's like an NFL team. Every year, the NFL year over year, NFL rosters are never, they can never exactly be the same. There's always guys getting drafted and guys getting cut and retiring, whatever. That's how these college rosters are going to be. But I think that'll be something that'll be very interesting to monitor. Um, but yeah, that's a great question. Appreciate you, WV Buckeye, for being on here as always. Buckeye one. Oh God, thanks for the deuce. You guys going to do the Scoop show live from the shoe, Nevada? I know you haven't been to the shoe in like 7 years, but the Wi-Fi might actually be worse now, 7 years later. Your thoughts? Again, I couldn't even imagine trying to do a Scoop show from the shoe during the game, after the game, with the congestion, because it's completely brutal. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, you think this sounds bad now on the show? Wait, try the buffering on the show then from the shoe. Yeah, that's something that Ross Bjork, if you're listening to my voice right now, you have to improve the Wi-Fi at the shoe. It's been terrible. It's been terrible since Wi-Fi's been a thing. I've never been able to get more than like one bar ever in my suite. It's terrible everywhere. It's 2024, man. Come on, let's have Elon Musk shoot like a Starlink over the state, do something, and improve the Wi-Fi. But yeah, we'd love to do a show from the stadium, but the Wi-Fi is just so bad, man. That's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. That's why we get back to the comfort of the mothership, and we can always get it done right then and there. W Buckeye, again, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. I want to remind everyone that the driver of our truck is not the same driver that was in the seat last year. This man knows where the gas pedal is. Nevada OH. I'm guessing that's Will Howard. Will Howard definitely knows where the gas pedal is, and he's going to floor it. Is that how you take it, Nevada? Because the driver of the truck is not the same driver that was in the seat last year. Is it Will? Is it Chip Kelly? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably talking about Will. Yeah, you've got a quarterback in there that, yeah. I mean, look, the big difference between Will and Kyle is just the pocket presence and the escapability in the pocket. I mean, Will's only been sacked a handful of times this year, and um, I mean, Kyle would have been exponentially more, 3 times more, or whatever it would be. But yeah, it's nice having a veteran quarterback. It's nice having a big quarterback, a guy that can see over the line, deliver the ball high to those wide receivers when he needs to, and a big, strong guy that can shake off the rush and get out there and not drops his eyes as soon as there's a little bit of pressure in the pocket. And yeah, Will's been a godsend, and yeah, he definitely will keep the pedal to the metal all day on Saturday.
Yeah, excited about that. Madamus Prime Entertainment, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Are the O-line backups that are filling in for players we've lost concern for their front? If so, what's the strategy to help them? I mean, I feel really good about Austin Steyerveld. I thought Austin should have started over Tegra. And again, I'm not. This isn't like I don't have like an all-out war on Tegra, but I watched the tape, and I mean, Austin graded out higher than Tegra this week, and he's been watching Tegra, screw stuff up for the last however long. And again, like I have nothing against Tegra. I would love to go through his mind and say, do you really know what you're doing? Like, do you really know your plays, especially when it's not cutting time? Because again, when you don't know what you're doing, defensive coordinators eventually pick up on it and they start attacking you. And teams attack Tegra. They didn't really attack Austin Steyerveld the way I thought they would. And Austin really played well. I thought him and Carson were good. And they've got the tall task of 55, who's their best player, their D tackle. So again, they've got him and Tegra too. I mean, Tegra's got to play. He's got to play. And again, I've been around a lot of Tegras in my life, and they can either figure it out and become great, or they can just kind of coast through their career and just be whatever. So Tegra, a lot of Tegra stuff, it's effort. Learning the playbook that's just pure effort. No matter you're learning a playbook, it has nothing to do with intellect or memory, or it's just repetitions. I mean, I taught guys that were probably got a 4 on the Wonderlic. I taught them the playbook, and they were able to get it, and because they have to get it, or else you can't play. And Tegra, it's week 11, 12, whatever it is, and he still has MAs, and they're not hard ones, and some not all missed assignments are created equal. Some are ones that they are tough looks, and you can understand it. And some you're just like, there's just no way you should be missing that this late in the season. So, Nevada, your thoughts? Are the O line backups that are filling in for players? Have you lost a concern on their front? And what's a good strategy to help them out? And a good strategy to help them out would be every time we pass, you need to put the center towards 55. You need to slide that way. And if that means that they're going to bring blitzes from the other side, you got to leave Trey Henderson in to pass protect. Nevada, your thoughts?
Well, look, the biggest thing, and you've said this many times on the show, but the best thing about the Chip Kelly offense is it doesn't rely upon, 5 blocks of granite up front. And, it's more of an influence type of scheme where guys just have to get in front of the guy and keep their booty to the hole and get the guy on the opposite side of it and not worry about driving the guy down the field because it's a lot of just influence blocking. It's a lot of getting guys going one way and then bringing the ball the other way. So I think that Chip's going to put the guys in as good a spot as possible. That's why it's so confounding when he gets around the goal line and they revert to this, put 10 guys in the box and run straight ahead and do that because that just seems so un-Chip guy. I know Chip likes physical football. I know he likes running the football, but that's just like the opposite of what everything else he's doing all the way down the field. So I think that that's what they'd do to help these guys out. And that's what they did against Indiana. Didn't ask them to do too much. Didn't ask them to have to just physically dominate the guys in these one-on-one situations and, really put the offensive line in good spots. And that's been my biggest complaint about the offense in years gone by is that we put the offense in difficult spots where we telegraph where we're running to, or we don't run constraint, and we allow the defense to, you've seen in some of these early games where we have these slow starts. It's because we're being predictable. We're running, we're going to a spot, and you'll see the linebackers or the safeties triggering immediately and just running to the hole. And when that happens, you're not going to gain yards. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's Kirk Barton, Orlando Pace, Corey Stringer, and you know, Jim Lachey up front. If the others, if the linebackers and safeties are triggering to the hole, there's going to be a mosh pit, and the play is going to get stopped. So you've got to stop that. You've got to influence that and make them respect other aspects of your game and not be too predictable. And so I think that's the lack of predictability is the biggest thing you can do to help out the offensive line, and Chip Kelly's a master at it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you don't, with what he does, it's so counterintuitive to do the like what he does on the goal line, and that's why I'm like, guys, like like again, it's like with modern warfare where there's drone strikes and there's laser guided missile systems. Like he would be like going back to like having like cannons and a marching cavalry. Like I'm just like, why would you do that when you can just fly a bunch of drones in and kill everybody instead of having like a bunch of humans and slow moving artillery that's easy to pick off and not work? I don't know. Like it's just my opinion, and again, I could be wrong, whatever. But like you don't, like with chip stuff, you don't really have to crowbar guys. And I'm gonna show this because this is one of my favorite plays. I put this online, and this was funny, but this was when I was a freshman. Toss this up here. You guys will get a good laugh out of this from back in the olden days. But you don't have to do this in Chip Kelly's offense. So this is my freshman year. I'm going against a kid that was the player of the year in Ohio on defense, Pat Massey, and like you don't have to do that in Chip's offense. Like in our offense, you had to move guys like this and get them out of the road. But it was just one of those things where I got a hold of him, and that's why I'm always so critical of our hand placement, because here I get my hands inside on this guy and I throw him out of the club. This kid played at St. Ignatius, and it was this was probably not a good day for him. But I like I said, that's what we had to do in the olden days. Like with Chip stuff, it's just like kind of get in the way, and you don't have to maul guys. Now the place where you have to maul is on the double team. Like in all zone plays, the front side you don't have to kill the guy like we did. Backside you have to you got to really make sure that you get that double team move. And that's how a lot of the zone stuff is now. Quick hitter stuff, but I used to like we have to like crowbar guys out of there to get yardage. And the other thing is like with our offense and with with Chip Kelly, Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, and Trey Henderson, I just it's not that hard to play offensive line. It really isn't. I mean, you've got, and not to mention JJ and Mecca and when you have JJ Rebecca, like if a team wants to zero blitz you and go like on a full all out blitz where they bring six and they cover everybody else here, because there's five eligible receivers, right? Five eligible receivers, one quarterback, five offensive linemen. So an all out blitz is they're bringing six. They're bringing one guy for each of the offensive linemen and a guy for the quarterback. Like if you want to do that versus JJ Smith, it's like literal play calling suicide because JJ will absolutely torch you. So that's why the teams don't really do that much against us because it's you do that full casino blitz, man, you're going to get cooked by Emeka or JJ or Ennis or Tate. So thank God we recruit our receivers. That's why I always love Santonio and Teddy and Gonzo. I'm like, if you guys want to do that stuff, man, you're like, again, I showed you that the touchdown that Roy Hall scored. If you want to do that, you're not going to be able to cover our receivers. You know, if you're not going to give them any safety help, they're going to get barbecued by Gonzo and Santonio and those guys. Lisa Shearer, how are you? Great. Appreciate you as always, my friend. Thank you for the 5. Have you seen the 2025 scheduled? No dates. Scum. It's not the last game. It's listed as the 5th or 6th game. What do you know? I just think that they haven't scheduled the actual dates for those games. I've seen the 25 schedule because we open with the Longhorns with Texas. So we got to play Texas to open up in the Horseshoe next year. But after like week 4 or whatever, it's like just a big scramble. And I don't think we're going to play Michigan week 6. I think they're going to be the last game of the year in perpetuity just because that's the strength of the Big Ten is the Ohio State Michigan game. But the rest of the games, I just don't think that they know because of all of the rescheduling and all of the expansion. Nevada, do you have anything on that on the 25 schedule? I think it's just going to be, you know, they do these scheduling announcements now, kind of like the NFL now, where they say, here's the NFL schedule, and they make it a big thing. And I think that's what college football is doing now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything that leads me to believe that the Ohio State Michigan game is going to be moved from the end of the season. I know there's been some talk about that, before. Do I think that ultimately could happen? Look, I think anything's on the table in this new college football landscape, but I have not heard anything that would lead me to believe that that's imminent. So I think whatever you saw in terms of schedule, I'm not sure if that was alphabetical or just put out there, whatever way. But I have every reason to believe the Ohio State Michigan game will be the last game before the Big Ten championship.
Andrew Schmitz, thank you for the 10. What do you think about what Minnesota did in the second half against the team on North tempo? There are a few people on this earth that love tempo as much as I do because I've seen it work. I've seen what it does, especially when you're going against 55. You're going against and more so 98. 98 is the bigger guy. He's like 330 pounds. When you go against those big fat guys and they're used to rotating in and out on the D line and you tempo them, they're never effective. They can't pass rush. They have got to run to the ball every play and they get gas. So I love tempo. I would cry tears of joy on Saturday because I've been waiting on Chip Kelly to unleash tempo, waiting on him to go fast. If he unleashed that versus Michigan and they weren't expecting it, I would bawl my eyes out in the stadium. I'd be so happy because I'd be like, I've been praying for us to go fast and use tempo and run read option because it paralyzes teams. They can't, especially against Wink Martindale, where he wants to pressure us and wants to blitz. Like you can only do so much when a team goes tempo. When you go fast, man, if you call that blitz out, man, and they don't, and someone doesn't get the signal or doesn't get the call, and all of a sudden like you miss it, then you can get absolutely destroyed. I mean, in the old days, like with tempo, teams were forced to play base defense. Now they've evolved a little bit with the helmet communications where they can communicate a little bit more, but even still, man, it's risky. I mean, it's going to be a loud stadium, and if somebody doesn't get the right call and they don't run the stunt correctly, then you could have a chasm in the middle of your offense. I've seen guys that sometimes you watch film and like somebody has a missed assignment, they don't run the right blitz, and you see a giant hole in the middle of the defense because a guy doesn't stunt to the right gap. So I don't know. I literally would cry if Chip Kelly went tempo versus Michigan because that's what I've been waiting for him to do. And I feel like we've been holding that. That was like a hallmark of what he'd like to do. Obviously, the thing is with the way our defense has been playing, it gives me a lot of energy to want to go tempo because our defense has been balling. So it's one thing if your defense is a sieve and they're giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards, but our defense doesn't give up anything. So if you have a quick 3 and out and you got to put your defense back on the field, and so be it. I mean, the best defense in the country at this point. So I would love for us to go tempo. it happens, it'd be amazing. I just, like I said, we did tempo a lot when Urban got here with Tom Herman. And the best example is in 2012, we played at Penn State. Penn State had a really good defensive tackle, number 47. He's a second round pick, went to the Seahawks, Jordan Hill. And in the second half, when we sucked and we were going to lose to Penn State, we were terrible. And we decided to tempo them. And Penn State's guys literally couldn't even get out of their stances. They were so tired. And 47, who was a dynamic, he wasn't Aaron Donald, but he was a very twitchy pass rusher, very good player. He couldn't even move. He was so tired. So, like, you know, when a guy's used to being able to take 45 seconds between plays and catch his breath, and not to mention rotate in and out, because, you know, those guys rotate, and he couldn't do it. He was dying. And, like, we were watching that, and our offensive linemen loved it. Like, Norwell used to love it. Jack Mewhort, Lindsley, those guys loved it. Reed Fraggle. They used to love it because, you know, as a big guy, you know, you get more tired than little guys do, just because that's the nature of being big. But the D line is used to rotating out. Like, the O line never rotates out. So as tired as the O line gets, the D line's even more tired because they have to run to the ball and they're used to subbing. So they're like 10 times more tired than the O line. And Norwell loved it. It was amazing. So, what are your thoughts about potentially tempoing it versus Michigan?
Well, look, I've been waiting for it all year. They practice it. I mean, would it surprise me at all if they brought it out in a big fashion against Michigan? No, because they want to get more possessions. I mean, we've talked about, you know, betting and expected point value, you know, EPV, everything's about number of possessions. And so if you can increase the number of possessions by going faster in a game where you've got a decided advantage on the offensive side, I think it makes a lot of sense. So that would not shock me at all. I know they love the helmet communications. I know they love Chip Kelly having a chance to talk to Will Howard, you know, for a while on the thing, and, you know, and huddling up and doing all that stuff. But I just have a sneaking suspicion that we may see that they've been saving it, and that that this may be the time to bring it out, because this is a game where possessions, you're going to want to have as many possessions as you can, because your opportunity to score is much greater than the opponent's opportunity to score. So I think you could see the you know, tempo and a lot of tempo this weekend. So we'll see. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
Oh, we'll be dunking cocoa on each other if that happens. I'll be so excited. Studley Budley, thanks for the 5. Any chance we go? This is great. Everyone wants it. Chip, I know you're watching. Pantoni, I know for sure is watching. He's probably watching live right now. Any chance we go to the hurry up on offense to get off to a fast start? I'd love it. We can't play from behind. We can break their will. Nevada OH. Yeah, I think this is a game where you know, going against Michigan, I mean, they're like going against like Army or Navy. Like they've got to try to run the ball and control the game. And, you know, the thing that's hurt Navy, you know, as they've gotten into the season, is teams are throwing on them. Because early in the season they were juggernauts running through people. But, you know, when you're a team that's like a running team only, like Wisconsin, Michigan State, Michigan, now with no quarterback player, your nightmare is getting behind than having to be forced to throw. And that's what, you know, obviously, Ryan Day wants to get out to a lead. But in a game like this, where the quarterback play is so poor, if you get out to 10, 14 point lead, it's almost like you might as well just pack the 10 up and go home, guys, because they can't throw it. And we're going to be teeing off on them with our pressure packages. And again, you got to remember, I've said this before, Michigan, now they're not new starters now because they've got 11 starts under the belt, whatever conglomerations of offensive linemen they've had, but none of those guys have played in the game. Jack and JT have played in the game. Ty Leak have played in the game. You know, they don't have, and they had good guys like Zach Zinter was a really good player. They had a couple of good guards that are NFL guys, ones with the Browns, ones with the Eagles. These guys have never played. So Jack and JT are going to get to have a field day, and not to mention Ty Leak and Ty Hamilton. So I'm just excited. I would love to go tempo. Nevada, we kind of just answered this question. Sylvia, I appreciate you, my man. Anything else to add to that?
No, it makes so much sense. And I mean, the only counter to that is you've been really efficient with your offense. Now do it a different way. Do you change it up in the Michigan? Are you setting yourself up for a giant second guess? If something goes, you go fast and you throw a pick six, or something happens and you mess something up on your side. And, you know, do you change, you know, something in time for the game? I mean, you guys did in '06 in the biggest of the big games. So It'll be interesting, but I have a feeling it's the perfect game for it. I know they practice it all the time. They've showed glimpses of it this year. They've done it occasionally, and when they've done it to great effect. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and that's why I'm betting. Final answer. I'm thinking we're going to see Tempo this weekend.
Jim Jackson, what is up, brother? Hope you're doing good. Thank you for the 5. Hey, Burke, have you heard
You're
anything
still
new
muted.
on?
There you
Oh,
go.
oh, okay. That's weird. It actually wasn't. That's weird. Hey, Burke, have you heard anything new on David Sanders, Nevada OH? Oh,
I owe.
I have not. I think that it's going to be interesting to see if he comes this weekend. If he comes this weekend, I think it's over. I feel good about it, but I think that this is going to be, it's going to be one you got to watch till the end. But I feel like he's in the boat. Like he didn't just, when you randomly pop up in Ohio for the Indiana game, I think that sends a pretty strong signal that you're about to flip. And shows up for Michigan, it's going to be over. Nevada, have you heard anything else new on David Sanders Jr.? Bring him back in here. I'm going to go to Sean Strzok. I'll see what Nevada has to say on that. But I think we're putting pretty lockstep with that. All right. Sean Strzok, thank you for the 5, and thank you for being an ultra member as well. Hey, Kirk, when I was watching the 05 game yesterday, I saw you cut a guy. It made me laugh. Yeah, we used to cut guys all the time. Like in 07, I cut all the time. Anytime we had a 3-step drop, we were allowed to cut in empty protection. And I was always taking a shot on a guy if I could, because no reason not to. I cut guys in 04 all the time. 06, not as much. We would cut guys on screens, but in 07, we were allowed to cut as much as we wanted to. And I cut all the time because I thought it was a nice weapon to run. Yeah, because again, like defensive linemen, they hate being cut. So if there's something that they hate that I can do that's legal, I'm going to do it as much as humanly possible. So I used to cut guys like crazy. Again, it's legal. This is not dirty. It's not a gator roll. I'm not the guy from Northwestern, torquing a guy's ankle back like he did with JJ. It's legal to cut guys. And again, our guys were getting cut by Oregon. And I was like, again, I was saying way worse words than I want to use for the show, but I was like, if I'm the offensive line coach, I'm saying we need to cut these guys. Let's just go cut them. Let's cut them early in the game. Let them know that it's in the repertoire, and let them know that it could be coming on any play. We could cut you on any play, so it gives the guys a little bit of hesitancy when they know that their knees could get chopped. And again, like the best teams in the NFL, like the Denver Broncos, when they were the best running team ever, they cut guys like crazy. That was kind of their whole shtick. Nevada, not sure you can add anything to this one. Yeah, the 05 game, I cut a bunch of guys. So, Nevada, do you have anything on David Sanders? Jim Jackson had that question.
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, I talked to a really good Tennessee insider, and they are 100% convinced he's coming to Ohio State. They are doubling down on that, which I found really interesting. Because normally, when you talk to guys, they're not going to go all in on losing a recruit. That's like not something you generally want to miss on. Like, hey, we're definitely going to lose this guy, but they're convinced he's coming to Ohio State. So I'd say that confidence is high, feelings are good. With David Sanders, though, you never know because he's been a little bit flaky. But what I can say with 100% certainty is the top Tennessee insiders are convinced he's going to be a Buckeye. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, there you go. Goldfish, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Looks like you got a nice catch there in your photo. KB, how would you describe the difference in intensity of the game to what the new Buckeye players have experienced in other games? That's a fantastic question. It's different. Like I don't want to like wax too poetic, but it's like the intensity is different. I mean, campus is different. I mean, like again, like I hate online class because I don't think that these kids are on campus enough around their peers. And I used to like going around campus on Michigan Week because you see all the M's are X'd out. We have like a committee of students that go around and they take red tape and put on all the M's. And we used to have Mirror Lake, which I used to love going to Mirror Lake. For those who don't know what Mirror Lake is, get on YouTube and type in Mirror Lake, Ohio State, and you'll see like Michigan week. Like our students would jump into this freezing, disgusting lake. I mean, this lake was they would check the the acidity of it, and it was like basically pee by the end of the night because our students would get drunk and jump in there, and it would be snowing. It'd be 5 degrees, and they were crazy, but we always made it a point to go down there. Me and TJ Downer would go down there, and we'd have a couple, we'd have a flask and go down and have some hooch and check out the students. And it was cold out, so you needed a little bit of a nip, a little Crown Royal to keep your blood warm. But we'd go down there, and it was always cool to see the student body and see how important it was. And they're going nuts, and they're singing the Michigan song, and like I mean, we don't give a damn for the whole state of Michigan. I used to honestly, and this is gonna sound super weird or corny, but it was it was the most inspiring thing that I did Michigan week was go to Mirror Lake because you could see how important it was to the students and how you see your friends down there, and we'd have some of our walk-ons that weren't playing, they'd jump in the lake and be crazy. Like I was like, I'm not jumping in there because I'm not getting pneumonia, and let alone putting. I mean, there'd be people put their head under, and we had an unfortunate incident where a kid lost his life and jumped in head first into a shallow pond, so that was terrible, and they ended their tradition. But it was by far my favorite tradition because I love seeing how intense the student body was, and again, I'm a kid that grew up in Ohio in the '90s, so that's something that's different for a lot of these kids that aren't from here. Is that they grew up in, and again, we had great players from all over the country, but when you're a kid in Ohio and you grew up in the '90s and you watch us get shellacked by Michigan, and you watch Orlando Pace and you watch Eddie George and those guys walk off the field in their last games at Michigan or in the Horseshoe, and they lose, like it's something that it always sticks with you because I always felt like no matter how good we were with Eddie and Bobby Hoying and Orlando Pace and Sean Springs, like we'd always lose. 98, yeah, I mean, 98 we got them, but there were teams that were like dominating Ohio State teams that couldn't figure it out. They couldn't crack the code of Michigan. Um, so like that always left a lot of anxiety and intensity in your mind as you went into the game because as much as they've talked about Jack Sawyer and Emeka and Trey and these guys, they're all coming back to beat Michigan because they're all 0-3 at this point. Nobody in the building that's a player has beaten Michigan, unless you're a fifth year senior. But we don't have many of those. Most of the guys are fourth year seniors or third year juniors, whatever. But the thing I always tell people, I'm like, look, as much as there's all that talk, the one thing you don't want to do is your last time you ever get to play them, like my senior year, I did not want to lose to Michigan. I did not want my last shot ever against those guys on the field. Now, again, I came back and coached, which is fine. And I got I got 2 pairs of gold pants from coaching, but those don't mean anything compared to the ones that you get from playing. When you actually play in the game and you actually make a difference, you're physically out there making a difference. It's a whole different ball of wax than just being an admin, being a guy that made coffee before the trip and made the scouting reports. Like that's cool, but they could leave you at home and it doesn't really matter. When you're a player, it really matters. So, but I think that the intensity it's palpable, and you get out on that field, man, and it's like you're like, holy crap! Like that's really the Michigan. That's really the winged helmet, and this is really the game. And again, the sideline's different because the sideline is 10 times more crowded. There's more celebrities there. It's just a mosh pit. In '06, like Jeter was there and LeBron was there. There are all kinds of, so it's a different level. And again, it's just the intensity. And again, like we, in '04, we were huge underdogs and we came out and smashed them because Troy Smith had one of the greatest games in school history. And in '05, we went up there and beat them. '06 was the biggest game, and it's the biggest regular season game in Ohio State history by far. Because of what was at stake. Again, we won the game to go to the national championship, won the Big Ten that night. Then '07, we went back up there, and we were a young team, and we went up and beat a veteran Michigan team, which was great. So it's just different. I mean, like, but the thing I always tell the guys, like when I talk to these young guys and some of these young linemen that are playing, I'm like, look, you got to treat it like it's inside run. Inside run's a drill you didn't practice. And I'm like, dude, if you can block Ty Leak and Ty Hamilton, you can block anybody in the country. You can block any of those guys. And that's always the thing that always gave me confidence going into any game is like when I have to go against like Mike Kudla in practice every day, anybody else in the country is a breeze compared to Mike because Mike was so good. So that's something that you carry with you. And like I tell these guys, I'm like, look, if you can block Jack and JT and Ty Leak and Ty Hamilton, then you have no issues with anybody on Michigan, even 55, because I would take Tyleek over 55 because I've seen what Tyleek does at his peak. He's a monster. So, but yeah, it's but again, you can't treat it like any other game because it's not any other game. It's a game that, again, I'm not trying to get too stupid about it, but if you lose this one, it's a really bad day. You lose to Oregon, we'll be okay. You lose, I lost to Illinois my senior day. It sucked, but the Michigan game, it haunts you when you lose. And people remember the Tim Biakabatuka game. They remember the last 3 years. They remember the 03 game where we went up there with all those. We had 21 seniors back from the team that beat the Miami Hurricanes, and they went up there and got their butts kicked, and it was disgusting. But people remember those, so it's a game you don't want to lose it. And thank God I never did as a player, because that it's just it's you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to deal with it. And again, beating those guys, beating Mike Hart and those guys, and Henny and Jake Long, greatest feeling in the world. There's no lie. High Point, thank you for the 5. What do you guys make of the quote fans who say Ryan doesn't care about this game enough? He said it's the worst thing, only second to his dad passing away. Nevada, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's haunted by it. I think that's one of the real, casualties of this Michigan cheating scandal has been Ryan Day's reputation. And we talked about the awards for CJ and how these guys haven't got any gold pants, but Ryan's taking it worse than anybody. His family's taking it worse than anybody, and he's a real victim in this because, I mean, literally, you were playing an opponent who was cheating, who was doing something that was against the rules, that was blatantly against the rules, and it wasn't something that provided a kind of significant event. It provided a statistically, Michigan turned from they turned into a juggernaut all of a sudden with this cheating, and they were a betting juggernaut, they were a covering juggernaut, they were a second half juggernaut, and they owned this rivalry for 3 years in a row because they were cheating. And now they're not cheating, and now they're terrible. So you can kind of draw the conclusions. But yeah, for Ryan, the pain's real. When he talks about it, and people want to goof on him or this or that. And I saw some things on social media, but no, I mean I feel bad for the guy, and I'm no Ryan Day apologist, but I feel bad for him because I know how much abuse he's taken from the fan base over these games, and he was really at a disadvantage because the opponent was cheating. The opponent knew what plays was coming, and that's a huge. That's like when you're playing against little Kirk in Madden, and you're peeking over at his plays when he's going over there, and you're just dominating the little guy. He's crying, and you're like, Daddy's just good at calling defense at little Kirk, and you got to learn it. But hey, that's what Michigan's been doing the last few years. They've been cheating.
Yeah, I do that in the hockey shootout, and I take Mario Lemieux and hit him with a triple deke, beat him. He takes the Florida Panthers, and I take the all-time NHL team, and I've got like Guy Lafleur and Mario Lemieux, and it's like, Daddy, you're really good. I was like, yeah, Mario is pretty good. He was a good player. Now, I think that what Ryan said, he was vulnerable, but he said the truth, because again, like me and Ryan can relate. We both lost our dads at a young age. My dad died when he was 12, and like the only pain comparable to my dad dying so far in my life, again, I've got a healthy family, knock on wood, but like when we lost to Florida and we lost to LSU, that's the only thing even close to your dad dying. Because again, it's not just that you lose and your dreams get crushed and the season gets crushed, but you get absolutely beat to death by this fan base. Like the best damn fans in the land turn into the best damn cannibals in the land, and they eat our players alive. And again, I don't care. I'm a battleship. They can't say anything to me that I haven't heard. There's nothing that really shakes me. But again, it hardens you. And again, for some of these kids, you got to remember, like Harry Miller was suicidal because of our fan base. Because again, our fans say crazy stuff online, and it's gotten worse with the fact that these guys can bet on games. They bet too much. They lose. There's people that are terrible. They're awful human beings. Like if I could round those people up and shoot them into the sun, I'd do it. Some of the people that are just so nasty to these coaches. I mean, Ryan Day had to hire security after the Oregon game to sit outside of his house because people were death threats and craziness. And so again, that's part of the territory. Again, like our fans they hold you accountable. And sometimes, they hold you to standards that they could never meet in any aspect of their life. But for some reason, they hold the Ohio State players to that. And again, that's fine. I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I make a livelihood covering Ohio State football. So again, I'm fine with it. I like it. Like again, when we lost to Florida, it was a bad day, and our fans let us know about it. I still get asked about that everywhere I go all the time. And again, it sucks and it was painful and doesn't hurt. Nobody's hurt worse than the players, but it's that's the cross you bear when you go to Ohio State. And again, if you want to complain about it, then go coach at Akron, go coach at Indiana. Nobody cares about Indiana football. Nobody ever will care about Indiana football. Here it's different. And is it unrealistic? Yeah, but that's also table stakes. You want to be a coach here, and again, they publish your salary because it's public. You make 15 million a year or whatever. Like, people are going to be brutal to you, and the players. And now the players get paid, and there's online gambling where people bet their house payment and they lose it because we don't cover or whatever. Like, it can get nasty, it can get ugly. So, I think that I think Ryan cares a tremendous amount because I think that he cares about the game. Obviously, he's been at Ohio State long enough where he's in the crew now. But like it's more about the pain and agony and the suffering that comes with losing the game. It's kind of when you play a game like this, the jubilation of winning is obviously one thing, but the relief that comes from not losing is a bigger thing. I promise you. Again, it was like when we played Notre Dame in that bowl game. Like the Florida game, the LSU game. Again, I've lost. I can sit up here and act like whatever, but like I've lost two of the biggest games in sports, national championship games. Didn't show up to play, didn't play well, played like crap. I'm talking as a team. Individually, whatever. I didn't think I was okay, but I was kind of par for the course. The whole team didn't show up for the Florida game, and we at least fought LSU. Like we at least were in the game. We were leading 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, but. When you play and when you do dumb things in football games versus equal talent, you're going to lose. If you 5 personal fouls, you rough the punter on 4th and 22, you drop a touchdown, you have a false start on the 1-yard line, and then you get a field goal blocked. Like again, we did so many dumb things. It was like we did a season's worth of stupid in one game, and it costs you. So again, losing is painful, but winning is amazing. So again, that's part of being at Ohio State. And again, I tell kids, I'm like, look, if you got little paper skin and you're soft and it's tough on you, this isn't the place for you because our fans are tough. They're tough, and it's not fun. And again, I don't like hearing about kids having mental health or not wanting to go out of their apartment or whatever, but I don't know how to change it because again, you can't have the standards be sky high and then on the flip side have, like, I mean, you would think that some of our fan base will lighten up a little bit after what Harry Miller went through. But they haven't. So again, it's just like, we had a kid almost kill himself because our fan base is so nasty. But they just don't care because some of them are just, they're just beyond reproach at this point. So, but again, that's part of it. And again, you can see the pain on Ryan's face when he was talking about it because that's the guy that I want to win this game more than anyone is Ryan Day because he's been beat to death for the last 3 years. I didn't think it was fair. I thought what they did was horrendous, and they should get smashed for it. Again, if there is a God, these guys will get smashed because again, this has been one of those things where you can't cheat like that and then win a national title and then skate out of there and then everyone just forgets about it because that's not how this stuff works. When you do something like steal signs and send a guy to another game and then play dumb the whole way, like, come on, guys, you know how this thing's gonna end up.
Kirk, I got a question for you. I just got a question for you. You played out there. Where do you think it's going to be nastier? When you played in like the 06 game, 05 game, 04 game, or up in our suite with the Key Bank guys next to us on Saturday? Which one do you think is going to? What's going to have more hostility?
I have no idea what Key Bank thinks. So Key Bank is right next to us, and every week they bring. Everyone in their suite is from like the opposite team. So whatever business marketing strategy it is, it's stupid. Like last week, they had nothing but Indiana Hoosier fans in their suite, and they don't just bring like people that are up there to like politely watch the game. They're the most annoying human beings in the world. They were doing the stupid Hoosiers like this. Hoosiers. They did this the whole first half, and I have to leave because I got to get home for the halftime show. But like I mean, the most annoying, stupid human beings in the world, and. Every Michigan game, they're head to toe Michigan face paint, Michigan jerseys. So again, like Key Bank, like I don't know what they're doing. I don't bank with Key Bank, and if I did, I'd move every dime I had out of there. I'm just like, I can't believe you guys fill your suite up with Michigan fans every year, but they do, and they're the dumbest human beings in the world. I mean, it's like a shooting gallery, but that's their prerogative, I guess. Ben Latham, thank you for the 5. Michigan is about to have the most powerful NIL by a mile. $233 billion man committing $50 million a year. Nevada, your thoughts? And again, I'll never believe any of that is sustainable ever, because I think it's like, sure, a guy's got to give $50 million a year to a bunch of kids to hope that his team that he can't own is going to do good. But I never believe that stuff. And again, our NIL is on fire right now. And plus, at the end of the day, the little 2.5, and again, 2.5 million is a ton of money. Don't get me wrong, not trying to denigrate it, but like the amount of money these guys can make in the NFL, 10 times that. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, it just, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's like good. Like you cannot buy your way to a championship. You just get in any sport. Like I was close to the Yankees, and I've watched the Steinbrenner family, for years and years and years, outspend teams by 10 times and lose. And so, if you don't have coaching, if you don't have culture, it doesn't matter what you spend on individual players. So, I mean, to me, it's interesting. I mean, Larry Ellison getting involved because of his new wife, his fifth wife or sixth wife or whatever it is a Michigan fan, and he's going to try to buy stuff on NIL. I frankly think they're going to put some sort of salary cap on NIL. I think that's kind of the way that this thing's headed towards anyway. But in the meantime, good luck managing that room. Good luck with the culture on that when you're throwing around big bucks. I've never seen it work, and I don't think it'll work. And Sharon Moore sure as heck ain't the guy to manage that and make that work at Michigan. So good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't like it. Didn't work at Texas A&M, and it didn't work. I mean, there's a lot of schools that have a lot of money, but does that really do anything? And again, like the baseball analogy is great because like somehow the Cleveland Indians can compete and do well, and we're not the Cleveland Indians. We're a lot closer. We're the Yankees, but is what it is. Mickey Galt, thanks for the 5. Great show. Go Bucks. Appreciate you, my friend. Is the game simply brutally physical, or is it dirty? Any examples of dirty play that you can share? And I'm not trying to be like Mr. Woody Hayes here, but like I honestly can't think of, at least when I played. Now I'm sure that there's instances in the past where there was a blatantly dirty play, like the thing that Northwestern kid did versus JJ. I'd have suspended him for the season for that. Like again, it's only 2 games, but I would have sent a message from, if I was Rob Petiti, I suspend him for that because there's no place for that. I can't remember an instance of that in the Ohio State Michigan game. Nevada, can you? I can't. From when I played, I can't remember of a play that was. Sean Crable hit Troy like kind of out of bounds, but that was. I didn't. I thought that Sean is just not very smart. I mean, he's a general studies major at Michigan, so he's just Sean being Sean, whatever. Known him forever. But Troy, I mean, I didn't think that was dirty. I thought it was, that was pre-targeting, and you hit him with the crown of the helmet, whatever. Hit him late, obviously, hit him out of bounds. So we got the penalty. And again, thank you, Sean, for that. But I don't know. I can't think of a blatantly dirty play. Nevada, am I missing something that's obvious?
I think when they did the Jeff Galooly thing to JT Barrett's knee before his game, where they went up and hit him with the camera or whatever it was, and hurt his knee before the game. That was pretty dirty.
But I mean, that wasn't a Michigan player. Like, what was that? Like some.
I'm telling you, that was all set up. It was all set up. That was a Michigan undercover operative. They're doing that, trying to injure JT. I'm calling it right now.
Were you in the grassy knoll at the time?
I was in the grass. I was triangulating the fire right there. I'm telling you, it's all going to get revealed, man. You laugh now, Mister Laffy Lafferson, but that's going to be revealed. That was a conspiracy.
Oh my God, that was pretty funny. Brandon Nito, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Another one of these. Thank you for the 5 again. Any words on the David Sanders flip being imminent? Feel pretty good about it. If we see him on Saturday, I'm gonna feel excellent about it. Nevada, anything else on David Sanders you'd like to add?
No, I think it's happening. I've always believed it was possible, but with David, you're just skeptical hippo until you get his name on the line. But the thing that's given me the most confidence is forget the Ohio State people, it's the Tennessee people, and the Tennessee people are convinced he's flipping, and so that's the thing that's filled me with most confidence.
Ty Gunther, thank you for the 5. Do you give any validity to the idea that Ryan Day or any of these seniors have to overcome some Michigan hex because of how these last 3 years went? No, that the hex is dead with Will Howard showing up, and again, even with Kyle McCord, who's terrible, and he'll be playing for the Edmonton Eskimos next year. Like, you know, we still were throwing at the end zone at the end of the game with a terrible quarterback. Now we have a guy that in a real, if we had a real SID, he'd win the Heisman. We have a monster quarterback. We have Quinn Sean. We have Caleb Downs. We have Chip Kelly. This team is just so much better than it was last year. It's almost insane. And we still almost beat them. And last year was the team where they won the national championship. They were 100 times better last year. They had Jim Harbaugh. Obviously, he wasn't on the sideline, but Sharon Moore, like coaching for 3 hours a day when Jim Harbaugh can be in the building and run the practices and do everything except run the game. Like the game day is the easiest part of the whole deal because like you're just, especially if you're not calling the plays. Now Sharon was, but I just think that last year's team that won the national championship, won 15-0, was a million times better, and we weren't anywhere near as good as we are this year. I think our scheme's better. I think our talent is way better. So no, there's no hex, and our talent is going to absolutely overwhelm them on Saturday, just like we said that it would overwhelm Indiana. Like again, I was putting up, go watch our 5 reasons why we beat Indiana show, and guess what? I put up 5 stars. We have 25. They have 0. 4 stars. We have 80. They have 2. 3 stars. They have 80. We have 15 or whatever. So it's like whatever 25, whatever the other numbers. So it's like we're going to overwhelm them with talent, and we're going to play physical. And again, you have to understand, like, we have a lot of guys that are experienced in the game, which even though they lost, like Jack Sawyer and JT, those guys played last year. They've got a bunch of offensive linemen that have never played in this game. So again, they're going to be a lot more nervous and anxious than we are because they haven't experienced the stress and everything. And your Jack and JT, they're veterans of this game. They haven't won, but I think that there's something that when you've played in it, it gets easier. It did for me. I mean, it's never like easier, but like, you've seen these guys before and you can beat them and whatever. And I don't think Michigan's offensive line thinks that they can beat our front. So we're going to find out. Nevada, I already know this is going to be a great answer from you. Again, Ty, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being on here. Do you have any validity to the idea that Ryan Day or the seniors have to overcome some Michigan hex because of how these last 3 years have went? Nevada, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, 2 of the 3 years were in Ann Arbor, which is always a tough place to play, and they were cheating, and so I mean, I don't think it's a hex. I just think it's Ann Arbor's tough. They were cheating. You get small sample variants of 3 games, all individual things. As you said, last year with a team that's not nearly as good, we outgained Michigan and were thrown into the end zone for the win and couldn't get it done. So there won't be any hex. Michigan is really, really, really going to struggle with the noise on Saturday, and I know the crowd's going to bring it. The crowd's been frustrated for 3 years waiting for this game, and it's going to be a long day for them, especially when they have the ball. They're really going to struggle. They're going to struggle just to get first downs, let alone sustain drives. So that's going to be the funnest part, is to watch the Silver Bullets just choke them out on Saturday, and I'm going to be there for it.
Yeah, I think the crowd's going to be a fever pitch because people are spending a lot of money on this game and they want their pound of flesh. They're going to get it. Brock Merritt, thanks for the deuce. Will we risk running cover 0? Will running yards always beat Michigan? I think we could. I mean, if there's ever a team I'm going to max blitz, it's going to be these guys because I'm not scared of their throwing game at all. So, when you're not scared of the receivers and they don't have Braylon Edwards or Mario Manningham or anybody outside of their tight end, then yeah, I'd go after him. I don't want to hit this quarterback as early and as hard as possible because I think he's gonna tap out. Because you got a guy that can run, Orgy, who can't throw, and then the other guy he can't do anything. So I'd run some 0 early, just get after him a little bit, and then you don't have to do anything crazy exotic against these guys. We'll do some stuff with the fronts, and we'll blitz them, but I like what we're doing. Will running yards always beat Michigan? I mean, I'd love to see how many times we've outrushed them or they've outrushed us and lost. I don't think it's been many times. I mean, in my career, we always outgained them, outrushed them. So, and again, a lot of it was Troy. I mean, Troy would run, especially in 04, 05. He was running a lot, and it made a huge difference. Obviously, in 07, my senior year, Beanie ran for 220 yards or whatever it was at Michigan, and Obviously, Mike Hart. I don't even know if he finished the game because our defense was so good in '07. They beat the tar out of them. So, um, yeah, I think that's it's a good formula because it also means you're game control. You're controlling the clock, and you keep your defense fresh. Like that's something I like about running the balls. You control the game, and plus you keep your defense off the field. So they're fresher as the game gets longer. And that's one of the downsides. We're talking about tempo. That's the downside to tempo is if you tempo and you go 3 and out, then like in real time in like 3 minutes, the defense is back on the field, which isn't good. Nevada, do you think we'll risk running cover zero? And do you think rushing yards will always beat Michigan? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the only issue with cover zero against Michigan is the screen game. Like you don't want to be blitzing everybody and get caught in a screen and give up a big play. So, but I think they can present cover zero looks and bring four guys from one side. Ohio State's been doing a really good job of doing that, disguising where it's coming from. So even when they're lining up six, the most they'll bring in is five. And Sonny's been doing a good job at middle linebacker, kind of sniffing out those screens. So. I think that's kind of how they'll attack Michigan because, like you said, they just don't have anything on the outside that's particularly scary.
Yeah, I agree. Stacy J, thank you for the 23. That is hilarious. Thanks for being ultra member as well. Hope you're good, my friend. 23 for the point spread, which I hope we far explained. That is, I love these little explanations to these kind of random super chat numbers, but I appreciate you, my friend. My born and raised in Michigan husband is a Scum fan. Tough week. In the words of the wise Kirk Barton, I sure hope he's a very sad panda come Saturday around 3:30 Nevada OH.
Oh,
He's going to be a very sad panda. I got that from South Park a long time ago. He's going to be a very, very sad panda. So we use that a lot around here. So I appreciate you, Stacey. You're the best. And I hope that your husband is very, very sad on Saturday afternoon. And you're very, very happy. Because again, in this game, only one side leaves the field happy. And I think that's going to be us. RP11, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Will Chip have a more aggressive pre-scripted first drive to get an early touchdown on the board? I don't remember us scoring out of the gate since Oregon. Great question. I don't know. I think that you kind of have to figure out what they're going to do against you early in the game. I mean, you can be aggressive, but you also don't want to be stupid. Because again, you obviously want to score on the first drive. You want to take their sideline out of it and kind of wear them down a little bit. But you got to figure out what they're going to do against you. Because that's the thing I always tell people about football is like, just because you plan for something and you watch film about what they did versus Northwestern, what they did against Indiana and whoever, that doesn't mean that's what they're going to do against you. So you got to figure that out before you get all crazy because you don't want to get all aggressive and then you give up a sack or some exotic blitz gets you or whatever. But yeah, I mean, obviously we want to score early, and I think that we'll take shots. And you got to figure out if they can cover JJ. I don't think they can, especially without Will Johnson. So I think their corners are going to get eaten alive by our skill guys, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, RP11, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Will Chip Kelly have a more aggressive pre-scripted first drive to get an early touchdown on the board? I don't remember scoring out of the gate since Oregon. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
yeah. I mean, look, I think Chip's trying to score, every time, but it'll be interesting. Like I said, we've talked about tempo. We've talked about some of the things that they like to do. Um, I'm really not too worried about the first drive stuff. I don't really, I just think that's kind of one of those things that just kind of happen sometimes. You get out there on a drive and on third down, like on the last time, he goes to Mecca short. He had kind of Quinshon releasing out of the backfield. Of Will glances to his right. He might throw it to Trey, and Trey might take it all the way down the field for a touchdown. So, yeah, I just think it's just one of those things that's happening. But they'll get after Michigan. Michigan's going to struggle they're going to struggle to stop us, and they're going to really struggle to move it against us, and that's a bad combination. That's not really the formula for a fast start by the Michigan football team. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think yeah, you always want to score early, but again, if you worried about that, then Indiana beat us last week. They looked like they looked started a little faster than we did, 7 up early, and yeah, but it's a whole game. I mean, you got to get through the whole 4 quarters. Nate Connor, thanks for the deuce. How often do you think Ryan Day should go for two? That's a great question. I think it's I'm a kind of a scoreboard guy, like kind of keep it kind of on schedule with what they have a little sheet that says if you should go for two. I don't think it just randomly going for two, I think is I don't know. Like I want my kicker to be out there. I want him to kick extra points and be ready to go in case he has to hit a field goal to win the game. So I don't know. Like if we're down and it's and the chart says to go for two, I get it. Um, but usually later in the game, like I don't like to do it early. I'd rather just take the extra point. But Nevada, what are your thoughts? How often do you think Ryan Day should go for two?
Well, look, I mean, if it was me, I'd go for two every time. I would practice it. I would have a set of 32-point plays that we just practice all the time, get really proficient, get over 50% on it, and go for two. But where we're at with Ryan Day and this Ohio State football team, yeah, just take your points, stay on schedule, don't chase points, and so, like I said, but it was me. I'd be way more aggressive. But I've been look, I've been saying that for years, and now all of a sudden Ryan is a riverboat gambler when it comes to fourth downs. He goes fourth down. He has gone for fourth down more this year than he has his entire career combined at Ohio State. So, he's evolved. I would expect him to go for two more going forward because it's a if you can get over 50%, you're actually scoring more points. So I think it makes a lot of sense, but you just got to practice it, commit the time to it. But for right now with Ryan, just stay on schedule and take your extra points.
Yeah, like I said, I don't like I totally understand the aggression because Oregon does it a lot. They'll go for two randomly and it keeps the defense on their toes. And I think like when you do it as more of a surprise, like change up, I think it's more effective than if you do it all the time. And again, I totally get like your guy that, always onside kicks and goes for done every fourth down and goes for two every time. Like I totally get that stuff too. But my only thing is like, do you lose you turn it in the Nevadabuck terms, you turn a good thing into a bad thing by scoring a touchdown and then you only get six out of the drive and then the other team goes down and scores and it's 7-6. And you're just like, I don't know. Like I said, I like getting the seven on the board but again, it's Oregon, they do a lot of crazy stuff and they get a lot of cheap points by going for two, doing a lot of kind of wing ding formations, which again, I don't mind that because I think it makes people pay attention a little bit more. And Chip was one of the guys that started all that stuff. So it's kind of funny that they do that all the time. Cordero Jackson, thank you for the 5. People cried to fire Ryan Day, Bama and USC and the team at North are all said looking in. We are good with Day. Besides, no one to replace him. Well, yeah, fire Ryan Day, fire Justin Fry, fire Jim Knowles, fire Chip Kelly, fire Quinshawn Judkins, fire Trey Henderson, fire Will Howard. Like, I mean, it's this part of the deal. If you're the head coach or the O-line coach, people are going to hate you. If you're either coordinator, people are going to hate you, no matter how dumb they are, no matter how dumb it seems. That's just part of it. Like again, like our defense is literally, I think, first in the nation, and people want Jim Knowles fired. So again, I don't know what their standard to life is, but I'm good with it. I love Jim Knowles. I think he does a great job. The guys play hard for him. They believe in the plan. You can tell. And Chip Kelly's the best offensive coordinator we'll ever have here. So I'm good. And Ryan's growing. He's young, 45 years old, and he's been on the job for 5 years now or whatever it's been since 19. And he's grown up in the inferno. Like he didn't get to learn at Northern Illinois or some rinky-dink school. Like he came right to the inferno and he's gotten better. Like again, he's got a great staff around him, and we've got the best roster in college football. And we're the favorites. Like going into Michigan, we are the favorites to win the national championship per every major sports book. So it's not Kirk and Nevada just being homers and our scarlet colored glasses on. The biggest money people in the world are picking Ohio State to win the national championship. So he's done something right. Nevada, what are your thoughts? People cried to fire Ryan Day. And I always tell people, I'm like, Ohio State has dodged the cyclical nature of sports, because you look at all these teams that are good that become bad and then hopefully they become good again. Like the Chicago Blackhawks were the dynasty of the 2010s, and they're the worst team in the NHL now. Alabama football was the dynasty of the last 15 years. They stink. They're partying like it's 2006. The Florida Gators were amazing in Urban's tenure. Now they stink. The Hurricanes stink. Michigan now stinks. And somehow we're always good. So again, people better realize how good they've got it as an Ohio State fan, because USC fans, Georgia fans, Clemson fans, Michigan fans, they would all kill to have the consistent excellence of Ohio State football. Nevada, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned two. I mean, Alabama's. They just came out with the college football playoff rankings, and Alabama's on the outside looking in right now. I mean, obviously things can change. That's a far cry from the Saban year a year ago. Michigan goes from national champion to 6-6. It can go in a hurry, man. And for people thinking that it's just going to be easy to upgrade over Ryan Day, I don't know. I'm skeptical hippo on that one, and. Yeah, so yeah, be careful what you wish for. I think Ryan's getting. I know Ryan's getting better at his job. I think he's making the changes. He's showing that he's willing to evolve. We've gone through the growing pains. Why would you go through the growing pains, go through the evolution, and then give up on a coach that's 45 years old? And what you do is you're going to watch him go somewhere else and win 10 national championships. And it's going to be like Bill Belichick and the Cleveland Browns. We're going to be like, I remember when we had that guy. Why didn't we hold on to him? Oh, because we ran him out of town because some idiots on the internet were expected that we'd win every game by 100 points. So, yeah, it's not easy. Michigan thought they could just. We got the machine. We've got the winning machine. We're tougher than everybody, and we just put any coach in there and we win. No, it doesn't work that way.
I just tossed the playoffs that were just revealed up on the board. So Ohio State sits at 5. Obviously, we're going to be either 5 or 1, depending on the Big Ten championship game. If we beat Oregon, we'll be 1. If we lose them, we'll be 5. I mean, I don't know, Nevada. I would kill for that path at this point to play Arizona State and Boise State. I mean, I would sign up for that today and give up everything at this point. But yeah, that's pretty attractive. Can you imagine Arizona State? And again, it's cold in Arizona this time of the year. It's not, but have them come to the shoe and then rock them and then go play Boise State. Like that'd be pretty fun. Any thoughts on this, Nevada? And we can wrap this thing up.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at Oregon's path, and or the number 1 team gets the Tennessee Georgia winner. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a fatal flaw in the way that they set this thing up. 5 is overpowered. But I've been saying it all year. I said it when it first came out. That 5 is where you want to be.
I mean, could you imagine like you're the number 1 seed and you have to play Georgia? Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's not fun. And then we play Boise State.
And we get Boise State. I mean, like, come on,
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, like, dude, like, I would sign up for this path like tonight. I'd cancel everything if we get Arizona State, Boise State. Then you gotta play the winner of Georgia, Oregon, and then then you get through that. And if Miami, Penn State. I mean, I'd imagine Miami would win, but Penn State would give them a game. Then Notre Dame, Texas, like I would think that Texas would prevail. So then you're going to end up seeing Texas in the championship. So, but again, Texas could lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then it's all for naught. So then then Georgia I think moves into the top bracket if they win the SEC. So yeah, it's going to be again, this playoff is about to be a doozy. So all right, Nevada, let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, big week. Got some big recruiting stuff. We'll see who comes in. We're on Panda Watch, waiting to see some recruits. We're going to see Kirk Barton on the sideline in the Tunnel of Pride down there in the field before the game on Saturday.
I've never done it. I got invited to it, and I sent it to you as a joke. I'm not doing it. I'm not leaving. It's going to be 19 degrees. I'm going to be in shorts.
Kirk Barton is going to be down there. He's going to be down there on the sideline wearing his jersey. So look for the jersey carton on the back there on the sideline. And
wearing my Letterman coat. Like I don't wear my Letterman coat. I'm 40 years old. Like I mean, my Letterman coat's in the attic somewhere. Like I'm not gonna be wearing my Letterman coat.
Can you swaddle our tree with your Letterman coat? Can you like wrap it around the tree to keep our tree warm during the tree warming this year? Yes.
Oh my god.
Tree lighting 3 hours before the game. Tree lighting ceremony and Christmas caroling at the Nevadabuck Kirk Barton All-American tree. So we'll see you guys there as well.
I love you said the Tunnel of Pride. I'm not leaving. I'm eating my nachos, drinking a beer, getting ready for the post-game show.
The hot cocoa, but you're gonna be out there. You're gonna be sparring with the Key Bank people. You're flipping them off.
not me. I don't care. They're irrelevant to me. But for some people, man, they get hot. The Key Bank, because they bring the most annoying people in the world. It's the craziest.
They have no idea. They have no idea what they're in for.
They're bringing them into the hornet's nest.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Again, I appreciate you guys kicking it with us. I hope you guys had a great night tonight with us. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. We appreciate you guys kicking with us each and every night. Another great show. We'll have another one tomorrow night. It's a huge show because you guys make it one. So thank you guys. Again, we appreciate you guys. Very thankful and grateful for you guys in this great week of Thanksgiving. So thank you. With that being said, again, if you guys want to help us out in a huge way, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts and also Spotify, completely free. If you want the greatest deal in the history of mankind to give for Christmas, consider joining BuckeyeScoop.com. This is going to be a legendary run from Michigan to Oregon to the playoffs. You need the inside scoop. You want the inside scoop. Join BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys have any questions about how to join the site, please email me, BuckeyeScoop@gmail.com. Again, we will help you guys out. Concierge level service from Nevadabuck and I to get everything done for you guys. It's also a great gift. So again, I appreciate you guys so very much. You guys are the absolute best. So that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow night about 7:10. We'll see you guys then. I hope you guys have a great night. Go Bucks.